Call to order, please, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening's meeting of the South Strabane Board of Supervisors for the month of March. Roll call vote, 5 supervisors are present. Our township manager is present. Our township solicitor is present. Our assistant city manager is present. Our engineer is present this evening. We have an additional solicitor, Mike, attending this evening. Sheila, our stenographer, is present. And I'm sure we have some other guests that will be introduced a little bit later, okay? Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment time. The Township Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the Board of Supervisors on any matter. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors has to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Static,
Do we have anybody in attendance? I do have a note that was sent to me by Ms. Penny Staples. I'll read it out loud. It's from the Martha Washington Garden Club. To whom it may concern, at the November 9th, 2021 executive board meeting, the Martha Washington Garden Club board approved a motion to plant a memorial tree with a memorial plaque on or by the tree in one of South Strabane parks in memory of the Garden Club's longtime member and treasurer Joyce Street.
There was. Did you want to speak? She did right there. Yes.
go ahead. Come on up.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Could you state your name and address also?
Donna Dyson, 1462 North Main Street. And today my concern is Nevin Alley. Nevin Alley is a 340-foot stretch of road that runs behind the 1400 block of North Main Street. Many people who live along this stretch of North Main Street have parking on Nevin Alley due to the many curves and high speed of traffic on North Main Street in that area. It makes it very difficult for us to get out of our driveways, so we park in the back. I moved into my home in 1994. For the first 26 years of residing in my home, Nevin Alley was very well maintained by South Strabane Township Public Works. They were extremely good at coming out when I would call them for repairs of the alley, and they did a wonderful job removing the snow. About 2 years ago, I called the street department and asked them to repair some potholes on the alley. They told me it was a paper alley and they could not come out. I said to them, but you have maintained it for 26 years. The north end of the alley has a sign saying Nevin Alley, and the south end has a stop sign where it connects to Hillside Avenue. They told me to call the township manager for more assistance if I wanted to. I called Mr. Stanek, and he said Nevin Alley is a paper alley and South Strabane would not maintain it. In Pennsylvania, a paper is a term given to a street or alley that has been laid out on officially adopted plans or maps, but it has never been improved or opened by the township. This is why it is called a paper alley. But Nevin Alley has obviously not been a paper alley for decades. And I wanted to know who made this determination all of a sudden. So I asked Mr. Stanek, well, if the township is no longer going to fix this alley, how's it going to get fixed? And he said, I would have to do it myself. So that is why I'm here today. He also told me that if I came to a board meeting and you would allow Nevin Alley to be named a real street, they would continue to fix the alley for me. The alley is almost impossible to pass now because of all of the potholes. I'm asking please for your help and repairing the alley and naming a street so we can have it fixed the way it used to be. That's all I'm asking for. And I do have a picture of the alley if anybody needs to see it. Mhm. This goes around. Starts here. That runs behind all this house, and all the parking.
We'll just show you.
And also when the schools were up there, Patton School, Head Start, and first level church school, the vans all use the alley every day.
How long is the alley?
340 feet.
But what is it?
340.
340
feet, okay.
Can you make it out, Rich?
It's a little far out back.
Yes.
So I was just seeing, so there was 1, 2 houses on it?
Oh, no, there are like 14 houses.
Oh, so it goes from here all the way into this side.
Mhm.
Okay, got it, thank you. I can see how far it's out there. The tree was
The
at.
trees are there, yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like any public comment? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on. Meeting minutes. I need a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes dated February 22nd, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Lukich. Need a second, please. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, financial business. Approval of payroll for the periods February 6th to February 19th, 2022, and February 20 through March 5, 2022, and bills for the period February 19th through March 18th, 2022. Need a motion, please. Thank you, Mr. Grego. A second, please. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Make number 6 announcement, make one announcement for the CD's meeting. Our board held an executive session concerning personnel and litigation. Mr. Standing, any further announcements? Anything else you have to say?
I think Lynn Pickup, right? Lynn Pickup goes through next Monday.
Yeah, we added 2 more because of the ice storm, right? And it's pretty good.
I think the last one's coming up next week. 2 more.
Okay, under 7, township reports and presentations. This time, we're going to take some time out to recognize 2 of our employees who are retiring. And we'd like to spend some time recognizing these folks this evening. And the first one we'd like to recognize, of course, is our longtime fire chief, Scott Reese. And Scott, would you come forward? I know they know you, but come on up anyways. Will you please? Good, thank you. I want to read a resolution the board's going to present to you and approve and put in the minutes. Strabane Township Resolution 422, a resolution honoring the public service of Fire Chief Scott Reese. Whereas Scott Reese was born and raised in Washington County and graduated from Trinity High School. And whereas Scott Reese joined South Strabane Volunteer Fire Department #1 in 1989, was subsequently hired as the first fire chief of the combined career and volunteer South Strabane Fire Department. And whereas in 2005, Scott Reese oversaw the merger of the Pancake and Oak Spring fire stations into the combined South Strabane Fire Department. And in 2022, oversaw the establishment of 24/7 fire protection and EMS in South Strabane Township. And whereas upon his appointment, Scott Reese led a department comprised of 4 firefighters, and whereas now upon his retirement, Scott Reese leads a department of 9 firefighters, 4 of which are captains, with the support of 12 active volunteers, and manage a department budget of $1.03 million. And whereas South Strabane Township has benefited greatly from the overall educational attainment, fire protection, EMS experiences, and professional members of Scott Reese. And whereas the strong support of Scott's wife Darla and their children and grandchildren have contributed greatly to his service and accomplishments on behalf of South Strabane Township. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the South Strabane Township Board of Supervisors that South Strabane Township hereby recognizes Scott Reese for his dedication and many significant contributions to the township over the past 33 years and congratulates him on his retirement from the South Strabane Township Fire Department. And such recognition and the gratitude of South Strabane Township be publicly expressed to Scott Reese for his service to the community, that this resolution be incorporated in the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting, that an executed copy of the resolution be presented to Scott Reese as a token of appreciation for his service to South Strabane Township. Dated this 22nd day of March 2022 at South Strabane Township, Washington County.
Move to approve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burns, and thank you, Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Jimmy, you have that plaque?
Plaque's right behind you.
Is it? Where? Okay. First of all, on behalf of the board, we thank you for the many years of service, successful service.
Thank you.
In the township. We appreciate every day you spend with us.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take this off. I want to congratulate you. I want to retire. I hope it's my last one. Dedicated to Scott Reese, his 22nd day of March. Nice picture. And appreciative of the dedicated service to the citizens of South Strabane Township as volunteer firefighter 1989 and fire chief from January 5, 1998 to April 5, 2022. South Strabane Township hereby recognizes Scott Reese for his dedication and many significant contributions to the township for the past 33 years and congratulates him on his retirement from the South Strabane Fire Department. Presented by the South Strabane Township Board of Supervisors. We're all listed there. And personally from me, I want to thank you for your service. I appreciate it. I'm sure this board has some former boards also. Congratulations on your retirement. Wish you best wishes. Thank you. Have a great retirement. Very good.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good man.
You know the township's all burned out.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Once again, that's doing it.
If I can I have a second.
Yes, you do.
Thank everybody for their support over the years. It's been a bittersweet ending here, so that I am looking forward to the retirement and spending time with the family. But at the same time, I'm going to miss serving and protecting the township. I know there wasn't a budget stated from when we started in 1998, but the day that I walked into this building, for those of you who are familiar where the copier room is, that was my office. And I shared a table with the copier. And the fax machine was my phone. No computer, no internet. And it's kind of point was showing how far we came. probably a year after we kind of got settled. Oh, and by the way, my chief's car was a Chevy Cavalier wagon that I used for several months until the township was able to order the first chief's vehicle, which was also the first four-wheel drive vehicle that was basically in service beside the old brown Jeep. I did use the old brown Jeep for a while. That was part of the police departments and the code enforcement Jeep. But over the years, you can see the progress that was made in both the fire service and both with the municipality. We have tried to do our best in the technology field and we come up to where we are today. A lot of strides have been made, a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. Back in 76, when I started with the fire service, it was something where you did it because you had in your heart to help out the community. Calls that I've answered back in those days still stick with you, and you still remember some of those calls from 46 years ago. Those are the things that make you want to go out and continue your service and to continue to make sure that you do the job that you do every day. I wish everybody all the luck, and also wish the future prospects and the fire chief to be hired the same success and the same opportunity that I had. And I want to thank everybody for the support and the friendship and working relationships that has been forged over the years of my service. Thank you.
Already been on behalf of the firefighters. Thank you, Mr. Green.
So he's starting to get choked up, so we won't keep up here too much longer, but from the union, I'm the vice president for the union, so we also wanted to do something nice for him. It's rare that people last this long in the fire service and EMS service, let alone as a chief for 20-some years. So we wanted to show a small token of our appreciation for everything you do for us and being there day in and day out, meeting with us every morning and running the calls as good as you do. It's the least we could do, and I hope you enjoy the plaque.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody. Very nice.
Somebody.
That's the point.
Hey Scott, you also called a lot of bingos.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Barney, one up there.
I'm already here.
Right there. Take care of it. This is another one of our longtime employees. Served the township very, very well over the decades. Very, very well, as Scott has. And these are losses, by the way. I want you to know that. We lose Scott, we lose Jimmy. But these guys want to take it easy too for a while too, because they've worked hard for us in the township, and we're very pleased about their work. So Strabane Township, Jim, Resolution 522, a resolution honoring the public service of Public Safety Director James Barnes. Whereas James Barnes was born and raised in Washington County and graduated from Trinity High School. Whereas James Barnes joined the Strabane Volunteer Fire Department, #1, in 1987. And whereas James Barnes was hired as a public works employee on June 1st, 1992, and served in this capacity for 5 years. And whereas James Barnes was hired as part of the first group of career firefighters in South Strabane Township on January 5, 1998, and concurrently hired as the Assistant Fire Code Official. And whereas James Barnes was appointed as Public Safety Director and Building Official in 2012, and served in this capacity until his retirement. Whereas South Strabane Township has benefited greatly from the overall knowledge, experience, and professional membership of James Barnes, and whereas the strong support of James's wife Kathy and their children and grandchildren have contributed greatly to his service and accomplishments on behalf of South Strabane Township. Now therefore, be it resolved by the South Strabane Township Board of Supervisors that South Strabane Township hereby recognizes James Barnes for his dedication and many significant contributions to the township over the past 34 years, and congratulate him on his retirement from South Strabane Township. And such recognition and the gratitude of South Strabane Township be publicly expressed to James Barnes for his service to the community, that this resolution be incorporated in the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting, that an executed copy of the resolution be presented to James Barnes as a token of appreciation for his service to South Strabane Township. Dated this 22nd day of March 2022 at South Strabane Township, Washington County, Pennsylvania.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Need a second,
I'll
please.
second.
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Everybody's with you, buddy.
Well, thank you.
Sorry to see you go. Sorry to see you go, but I want to thank you for many years of service. Appreciate it. We appreciate it. Personnel.
Hey, Jimmy.
Very good. You guys, come on. Thank you. Best wishes. He's still with us, by the way, on a part-time basis. He's got Philly. He's still hanging around.
Here's my turn. Okay, well, I won't be long. I'd just like to thank everybody. It's been an excellent township to work for. Great groups to work throughout the year. And boy, the growth we've seen, as Scott has said, in the 19 corridor, housing developments. And I just hope it keeps up for the municipality and everything goes well. And thank you for everything. If I can be of any help, let me know. Okay. Thanks, sir. And thank you. Thank you. Rich.
Steve, always welcome on. This is 6:38 sir.
That's right.
Thanks, everyone, for your indulgence. Took a little while there, but these guys need to be recognized. They provide outstanding, long-time service to our township. And this board, former boards, I'm sure, appreciated all their work all these different years and stuff. So once again, best wishes to both of them. Congratulations. I hope them for a long and healthy and happy retirement, both of you guys. Okay, let's move on. Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System MS4 report. The Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for comments regarding the topic of stormwater. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to address the stormwater issue in our township? Okay, thank you. Okay, Township Manager report.
No report this evening.
Thank you. Secretary Treasury report.
Has been submitted for the board's information.
Okay, Township Solicitor.
The office has been involved in planning matters, also involved in some personnel issues, I believe. But we are pretty much involved with some sewage issues, construction of sewage. Mr. Iarino and myself have been working on it strenuously, so things are moving in the right direction.
Kevin, Township Engineer.
You shall have a copy of my report. I'm happy to take any questions you have on any projects or topics that are on it.
Anyone have any questions for Kevin? Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Well,
Thank you very much. Okay, number 8, unfinished business. So to A and B, we're gonna have, keep them on the table. And we're gonna move forward with new business. Number 9, public hearing for conditional use application from Washington Investments LLC on behalf of De Novo Clinic to operate a medical clinic at 2 Park Place in the C2 zoning district. Mr. Steny, would you give a briefing before I turn it over to Mr. Maple?
Sure. February 11th, 2022, the township received an application for a conditional use approval from Washington Investments on behalf of the Novo Clinic to operate a medical clinic at 2 Park Place in the C2 commercial zoning district. You may recall the board at its September 28, 2021 meeting approved an at-risk agreement with the applicant to hold the township farmer should necessary zoning relief and additional use approval not be granted, and De Novo wanted to start to build out of the space prior to obtaining the use approval. The property is located on a corner at the intersection of Burkett and Park Place. The property is 2.32 acres in size, single-story mixed-use commercial building, approximately 21,000 square feet. The applicant is in the process of completing an interior build-out of the space to accommodate a medical clinic to treat individuals with depression, anxiety, and provide other mental health services, not requiring overnight treatment. On December 13th, the zoning hearing board had a public hearing and unanimously granted a variance to allow a medical clinic to operate in a building that does not have frontage on a public street. On March 3rd, the planning commission conducted a public hearing as well and unanimously approved a recommendation for the board to grant conditional use approval to allow them to operate a medical clinic at that property. So, I believe,
At this point in time, anyone who's going to testify on this matter, would you please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in by the stenographer? Counsel, you're going to get sworn in because you're counsel. Anyone who's going to testify on behalf of the applicant. You state your name, sir?
Alan Axelson, physician.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Before this proceeding begins, in terms of the hearing, I'd like to ask the board to approve a motion placing into evidence Exhibit A, which would be the application for the proceeding today. B will be the planning commission memorandum dated February 25th, 2022. C will be the application for zoning variance. D will be a memorandum regarding the zoning hearing board. E will be the advertisement for today's matter, and F will be the notification of public hearing. There's a motion to place those exhibits in evidence.
so moved.
Thanks, Mr. Need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Motion carries 5-0.
At this point in time, counsel of the applicant, you want to please approach the podium and state your name and put your case on.
Yes, sir. My name is Mark Keppel. I'm a lawyer at Bailey and Wyatt. I also represent a broad overview of Washington Investments and all of their commercial entities, and I have a lot of managerial responsibilities in that regard. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's located up 19 it's Planet Hollywood. Planet Fitness is in North Strabane, the Dairy Queen that's in the South Strabane portion. And there was a fair amount of time that we went through without being able to find a tenant for this particular location. And we've been blessed with Dr. Axelson's group coming in and with a willingness to make a substantial investment in the interior build out. The information is contained within the paperwork as to the financial commitment that his company has made, and we think that that speaks volumes for what we're doing. This particular clinic provides a really vital need for people in the community for often misunderstood and overlooked piece of our human existence, which is mental health. And so it really is going to provide a nice complement to what we've done there. This entire complex that's been developed there really is taking on a nice tone. We have a fair amount of healthcare, some professional offices, a cardiovascular center. So this is just kind of a natural outflow of that center. I've asked Dr. Axelson to be here to answer any specific questions you may have about what kind of exposure the community will see from this. In South Hills, there's another office that's been very successful for this. I think the information contained within the application is really self-explanatory. I won't bore you with the details of that, but I'm here to answer any questions, and we view this as kind of an open book situation. So with that, I would urge that this application be approved with the materials in there. I have nothing to add, substantively aside from that, and any questions Dr. Axelson may have. I guess for the point of the record, he could vouch for everything I'd say, but I don't really want to take too much of your time if it's unnecessary.
I don't have any questions to you, but I have a question to the doctor.
Yes, sir. May I bring him up?
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Axelson.
Hi, doctor. Thank you for attending.
Good evening.
I've asked you this question. I don't know if it was you or the preliminary applicant when they were here. Would you please explain to the people in attendance and to the public what type of work you'll be doing down there?
Okay, I'm Alan Axelson. I have actually been practicing in this area since the early 70s. I was at Western Center when it was Western Center. Doesn't look like it today, but I've been treating people in, I'm a psychiatrist. I specialize in child and adolescent psychiatry. We have currently, and since 1980, have been on Fort Couch Road, Intercare Psychiatric Services. And we have basically totally occupied the space we have there. About a year and a half ago, I partnered with a national organization in order to expand our services. And so we will be providing exactly the same services that we are right by South Hills Village at Intercare Psychiatric Services. It's basically general outpatient psychiatric services for children, adolescents, seniors. In addition, we also provide really some innovative new services, which is a stimulation of the brain with a magnetic coil. And this is something that's really quite dramatic. And I've treated patients, particularly with chronic depression, for 20 or 30 years. They are different now that they've had this treatment. This is something that's been available for about 10 years, not really readily available here. And this is something we're now doing that's quite dramatic. So we are expanding it. We're here for everybody. We treat not only people with commercial insurance, but also with Medicaid insurance. This is one of the things that I really committed to with this partner. We've been about 30% Medicaid for years, and they were willing to do this. Some of the other people that approached me, they were only interested in people that had a little more money. That's not what we're about. So we're here for your community. I work at Centerville Clinics. I've worked with Washington Communities, and this is just what I'm doing now. Instead of that retirement stuff looked kind of attractive. My partner won't let me. And I don't think my wife wants me at home all the time. I really love what I'm doing, and it's been good. And this whole area has been good to us. I built Lakewood Hospital and Southwood Hospital. So I just keep doing things. Those are now under other people's management, which is good. But we're about psychiatric services. And we're here to help the community, and it touches every family.
Tell me again, what's the name of that treatment you're talking about, the new one?
TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. And it is a rather powerful magnet that's held very precisely close to the brain for a period of, and it gives bursts. And in some respects, it's almost like a kind of an MRI or CT scan. And patients just sit in what looks like a really classy dental chair. And we do this 5 days a week for about 4 weeks. And they just are different. It almost wakes up a piece of the brain. And depression is a really difficult, troublesome disease, has, fatal outcomes for some people in terms of suicide. And so making this available right now, you have to go to Western Psych in Oakland, and that's not going to be something that the people are going to do. We're doing it at Intercare in South Hills Village. That's our South Hills office. We'll be doing it right here in this area. We particularly picked this location, which was just built for us. We're glad you dug all that out and everything, because it's right, 79, 70. People will come from some distance.
Any other board member, any question?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Doctor, so this application for conditional use is for a medical facility
Yes,
for purposes of psychiatric treatment only,
yes,
for depression and things of that nature.
yes.
So basically, if the board decides to grant that your request, I suggest we put in that we approve the conditional use as to medical facility as to the treatment of psychiatric matters. Does that sound?
As compared to what?
I'm concerned with having maybe a methadone clinic or something like that.
Okay, a methadone clinic is a very specialized thing. I have never done it. I do not want to do it. It's not something we get involved in. It's really not compatible with what we're doing.
I just want to say, my recommendation, because I had this issue somewhere before, we say medical clinic for purposes of psychiatric treatment,
Okay.
okay? And now, any other questions for this gentleman, doctor?
Doc, did you say it's gonna be children through adulthood?
Oh, yeah,
At this clinic?
and even people your age, so.
Okay.
Whoa, older than that. Damn.
I'll get you for that record.
Mr. Chairman, I move
Well, I'm sorry, we had
Wait,
that.
wait, here he's still on.
Did you ever work at the adolescent center at Mayview?
Wow, you're going back there for ways.
I worked there. I used to work there.
Well, I built the children's center at Mayview.
Okay, okay.
The children's center, there was a children's center at Western Center. We relocated to Mayview, developed it. And so, there's people all around this area that have worked for me. When you work as long as I've had, it's.
When I
accumulate some
heard your
people.
name, I recognized it because
Uh-huh.
I started there in '89 and
Okay.
worked there till they closed.
Well, we were there 76 to 84. We opened Southwood in 84, and that's when I retired from the state.
Yeah,
state.
and the state, when they closed the children's and adolescent center, I'm like, where are these kids gonna go to?
Well, the last few went to Southwood Hospital. By the way, I've got to say, the person that helped me with this, I don't know if you remember him, was Ron Barshek. Ron Barshek was head of mental health. And
Yeah.
I would not be where I am today without Ron. And we'll invite you to the opening of the office, and you'll hear me say that. He was a tremendous man, and he stood beside me in meetings like this when they didn't want to give me zoning, so.
At this point in time, does anybody in the public have any questions or comments concerning this application? Anyone at all?
Move to approve.
So the motion is to approve the conditional use for a medical facility for treatment of psychiatric
You
disorder.
need to close the hearing.
I'm sorry.
May I?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't disagree with council's modification or clarification, rather. What I would suggest maybe that we make psychiatric, psychological, and counseling center.
That
Because
sounds
of the
great.
different
It's even better
disciplines.
yet, but we need a motion. Mr. Weber's correct. Is there a motion to close the testimony?
I'll make that motion.
Need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. All in favor of closing the hearing, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Is there a motion to approve the conditional use application for psychiatric, psychological, and counseling features? Something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Second, please.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for the time spent. I've been here several times, and I'm impressed with the the real public interest that you all display. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Doc.
Good night, take care.
Okay, the public hearing to consider an ordinance restricting the parking of vehicles, cul-de-sacs, and prescribing penalties for violations. Need a motion to table, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. All those in favor of tabling this particular hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Letter C, public hearing to consider an ordinance creating the manifold sewer shed district number 1 and establish a special tap-in fee for new development on properties located within the manifold sewer shed district number 1. Mr. Stanley, give a briefing before we turn it over to Mr. Meek.
The purpose of this ordinance before the board is to establish a district and to assign an additional tap-in fee to those properties that develop within the district, which will be used to reimburse or recapture the developers of Burkett Manor and Middlesex for contributions to the manifold enforcement project. The additional tap-in fee for the district is set at $10,428 per EDU dwelling unit for any property located within the quarry, manifold, and racetrack sewer sheds. Summary, for any property that develops in the aforementioned sewer sheds will be required to pay the following to tap into the public sanitary sewer system. The regular Ouija fee is $1,200 per EDU. The township tap-in fee is $2,500 per EDU. And the sewer district number 1 fee will be $1,428 per EDU. The total cost to be incurred by the developers is $492,755 by Meadows Landing and $207,100 by Burkett Manor. Pursuant to second class township code. The ordinance has been published 7 days before at the very least. And this evening we are scheduled for the public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Meek.
At this point in time, to open the hearing, I'd like to ask for a motion to place into evidence Exhibit A, which would be the proposed ordinance. Exhibit B would be the map showing the sewer district. And Exhibit C will be the public notice. Is there a motion?
Need a motion, please. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Cray, you're the township engineer. Have you reviewed this ordinance and the map itself?
Yes,
Do you have any questions, concerns about it?
No.
Do you agree with the terms and conditions therein?
yes,
And have you worked on that ordinance with Mr. Iarino from my office?
yes,
And have you also worked on that ordinance with Mr. Stanek?
yes,
You recommend approval?
yes.
Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Craig? At this point in time, anybody in the public have any questions for Mr. Craig or for the Board of Supervisors concerning the ordinance? State your name. Could you go to the podium, please, and raise your right hand?
State your full name.
Cynthia A. Rossi.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Cindy, would you come over to the podium, please?
Prepared testimony to be entered in its entirety into the record of tonight's hearing. My name is Cynthia Ann Rossi. I am a 30-year member of the township. One of the two major developers to benefit from the manner in which the manifold force main upgrade on the proposed manifold sewer district number 1 is PA Finance 2 LLC. And below is the tax chart from the Washington County Treasurer's Office. And I verified the correctness of this just yesterday. It shows delinquent county taxes owed in the amount of $221,896.06. Interest on the amount will be added this year. The delinquent tax office confirmed this amount is owed due to the property being removed from clean and green. When a property is removed from clean and green, a conservation program that allows the owner to receive lower taxes. Because the land use changes and the property is developed, the full amount of taxes for the past 7 years is calculated and assessed. It was confirmed that this is the case with this parcel, which sold at sheriff's sale in 2020 for the unbelievable price of $922. The current value of the property is in excess of $2 million. And that is also according to the county assessment. Were the supervisors, the solicitor, or the township management aware of the back taxes owed by this developer? The following questions and concerns result from my review of the proposed ordinance. The proposed ordinance, I must add at this point, did not include what Mr. Stanek has just said, indicating that this may not apply to all properties within this township, whether they exist now or whether they will be new developed properties. Number one, why are the township taxpayers of South Strabane Township allowing developers to receive a no-interest loan? While taxpayer monies are expended to benefit developers, the monies utilized are not able to earn interest at Slovenian Savings and Loan or other worthy institutions. Number two, how will the township guarantee the taxpayers' monies expended to benefit two developers will be repaid? The operative word here is guarantee. Number three, section, bless you, 187-122, under definitions, improved property. Improved property is defined as any property within the manifold sewer shed district number 1 upon which there is erected a structure intended for continuous or periodic habitation, occupancy, or use by human beings or animals, and from which structure sanitary sewage shall be or may be discharged into the sewer system. The use of the word is could be interpreted to include those properties that are already connected to the system, should there be wording to indicate after the adoption of this ordinance? Or is it the intention to bill all of the good taxpayers $1,428? Number four, the concern raised in the definition for improved property is further enhanced by the wording of section 187-114, special purpose tax and fee. Item A, under this heading, states, and I quote, there is hereby fixed and imposed upon the owner of each property within the manifold sewer shed district number 1, a special purpose tap-in fee of $1,428 per equivalent dwelling unit or EDU of capacity required for connection. This wording does not clarify application of this fee to only those connections following the adoption of this ordinance. And number five, instead of holding non-resident developers to be responsible for the costs associated with doing business, this ordinance traps others who may wish to build on a single lot or carve off a section of for the purpose of a family member building a home within a large swath of the township. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Can you respond to that or?
You can.
Sure. The tap fee only applies to new properties being constructed. The property that's currently existing does not pay a tap fee. The purpose, when you build sewage systems and water systems, there's three different ways, at least that I'm aware of, to gain money to do projects. One is a grant, one is a loan, and one is something that's local from the person that wants to tap in. So basically, structures are already tapped in according to Municipal Authorities Act. They don't pay a tap fee again. So I'm just telling you how it works. So basically, if you have a house right now, you don't pay another tap fee. That doesn't make sense based upon the Municipal Authorities Act and based upon what I understand the law is. So that's how it works. I'm just telling you how we always do it.
I understand how it works and I understand what you said, but when I read this on the computer, it was not clear to me. And I've talked with other members of the township that raised the same question. They were questioning, should it be further clarified? That is the intention of what I was saying. Because it says is, but it does not say after the adoption of this ordinance. Am I clarifying my concern?
Kevin, do you, is that a concern of yours?
No, by definition, a tapping fee ordinance implies that you're tapping into the system. If you've already tapped in, it's a precedent that's already been set. You're not assessing based on existing homes. You're
It's
doing
all-
a tap-in fee for proposed new development.
It's always for proposed new developments. I've been involved as legal counsel for probably maybe $100 million worth of sewer water projects. The tap fee is a cost you incur when you're connecting into either sewage or water system. It's not something, if you're already connected,
Understand that.
okay? So, and another thing, you talk about developers. Developers always pay their fair share, and that's the reason why we developed this ordinance, and we're doing the right thing. The taxpayers aren't gonna pay a cent for the developers to construct and improve the property. It's gonna be them.
But what about the family that might have a large piece of property and want to allow, subdivide and allow a family member? They will also be assessed a fee that was intended for the developers, is that?
Everybody, you treat everyone the same. So if you have a developer with 1,000 houses versus John Smith with 10 houses that has a farm, they all pay the same tap, you treat everyone the same. Does that make, do you understand what I'm saying? If Mark Murphy owns 100 acres, and he wants to subdivide and have 10 buildings, 10 homes on his property, he pays the same fee as the developer does. We treat them the same.
But this is really about two developers, and it's being extended to all of the residents within a large swath of the township, and that is what I was questioning.
What are you saying? I'm sorry.
This,
Hey Cindy, come on up here so we can hear you. I can't hear you either.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on up here so everybody can hear
No
you.
one is a solicitor. I'm not gonna let developers take advantage of the township or its residents. Everyone's be treated the same. We can't treat people differently. I'm certain if the sewage authority was doing this when you were on it, you'd be following the same mechanism that we're following here today.
No, we hadn't, the developers were to pay their share up front, and this has all changed from our dialogues.
It's the developers are going to be paying, we're gonna have two phases.
They were going to add it on to the cost of each lot that they sold and each home that they built.
They're paying the money up front. We have a contribution agreement that's being considered right now. They're gonna be paying the money up front.
Do you have the money up front?
We're still in the agreement yet because when there was nothing that was done, there was no agreement signed by the previous authority and the town and these developers. We basically had to put all the stuff together because there was nothing there. We didn't get any records from your solicitor. Plus, we have nothing that I'm aware, because I asked the developers if they had any signed agreements. No one had any signed agreements.
No, there weren't signed agreements.
And there was no
The
other
agreements were works in process, and I'm not going to get into the story of the former authority. I will tell you that I have heard this board salute people for their service to this community. And at the last meeting, had a moment of silence for a dog that passed away. And nobody thanked people like Ron Carolla, a very well-respected engineer. No one thanked Dr. Don Fox or Ed, who has given tremendous hours to this community. I think that, and after the way, and you know this, the wording that was in that document that was presented to the courts, after that wording, Dennis, you know exactly what I'm referring to, and I don't know that this board saw that wording.
Board, whatever we do, we give everything to the township, and I'm certainly sorry everything there. But what I'm saying to you, going back to your initial thing, the ordinance itself is going to be applied in the future. It's not applied to current structures. So that should make.
Do you feel, and that was the point that I was raising, do you feel the ordinance itself clarifies that?
Yes, because you have to take the ordinance, you look at the ordinance and look at the Municipal Authorities Act in terms of tap fees. Okay?
I was only clarified with what Mr. Stanek read.
Sure.
It did not,
But just
the
for,
ordinance does not
just for
read
the
with
record,
that clarity.
Cynthia, no one's going, this board is not going to developers take advantage of the township of its residents. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from anybody here in the audience? At this,
We do have a comment that came in just right before the meeting, so if I can just read that from Joe Kopko. Brandon, please note that although the text describing the ordinance on the website states that the fee is only for new development, the text of the ordinance itself does not impose such limits. As I read the proposed ordinance, it states that all properties within the district are subject to the fee. Please review the text of the ordinance and make certain that any adopted ordinance clearly delineates that only new properties are subject to the tap-in fee. Also, I am disappointed that the board has chosen to go this route. In my opinion, it should be the developer's responsibility to recoup the monies as it develops and sells the properties. Please convey my concerns to the board at tonight's meeting. Unfortunately, I am not able to attend. Thank you for your kind attention to this matter. Joe Costa.
You just said better what I was trying to say.
okay. Anything else? Any other public comment from the public about what we're doing about this ordinance? Any questions or concerns to the public? Being there are no questions or concerns outside of Ms. Rossi and Mr. Kopka, is there a motion to close the testimony?
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Need a second,
I'll
please.
second it.
Thanks, Mr. Lucan. All in favor of closing the hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Motion, hearing closed.
And now we, about the ordinance?
Yes, I'm gonna make a motion. Need a motion to consider an ordinance creating the manifold sewer shed district number 1 and establish a special tap-in fee for new development on properties located within the manifold sewer shed district number 1. Need a motion,
I'll
please.
make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Just need a second. Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's move on to D and E. Have already been taken care of. Letter F, motion awarding lowest qualified bid for public works, materials and fuel. Mr. Stanek.
Pursuant to the second class township code, townships are required to advertise for bids for purchases of materials, services, and contracts exceeding $1,300. I think that has increased. Bid advertisements for seal coating, stone, asphalt, gas, linear were advertised on March 4th, March 8th. Editions of the OR at 3:00 p.m. on March 17th. Bids were received and featured at a public meeting in the municipal building meeting room. Lowest acceptable bid for seal coating came from Young Blood Paving at $2.03 per square yard, which previous year was $1.26 per square yard. Sales sheets attached in the documents. As no acceptable bids were received for stone, asphalt, and fuel, the township must rebid the items. If no bids are received within 45 days of the second advertisement, the township may purchase or enter into a contract for the purchase of those commodities. We have not received those. There were, I think, several reasons that Mr. Gregory and I learned. I know that some are hesitating due to the fluctuations in the oil prices. So quoting one price, taking a loss on that over time can be a challenge right now. We'll try to discuss with those who are in the area that we currently receive bids from on a regular basis. See what other challenges there are.
Brandon, are these bids good for a year or 5 years? Or time? 1 year. Could you reduce the amount of time to encourage it? You say it's a 6-month bid instead of a year, so that they don't feel quite as.
Also an escalator clause. Basically saying that if oil goes through the roof, they put in place an escalator clause. Then they can raise it. Through municipal services.
I mean, do they know that?
Yeah.
Okay. We should bid it, we will get bid.
Yeah. We're gonna allow a little more time.
Okay, I was just trying to promote the device to encourage.
So, Mr. Stanek, we're going to ask for a motion to accept the bid for in-place seal coating from Young Blood Paving in the amount of $2.03 per square yard.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lukatich. All those in favor, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Letter H, motion approving a collective bargaining agreement between the South Strabane Township Public Works Union, Local 272M, and South Strabane Township beginning January 1st, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2025. Mr. Standing, you want to give a briefing?
Yes, we had a negotiations committee, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Lukatich, myself, and Mr. Michael, that had negotiated successfully with our public works crews. I would like to thank Jeremy Bardella and Cody Hamill, as they were very good across the table. And hopefully this will be for another 4 years.
Need a motion to approve, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion on the issue? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Letter I. Motion amending the Township Police Department policy and procedures manual regarding the use of body worn cameras. You want to speak to it a little bit? Is this making an amendment to the thing? You want to read the amendment, Mr. Chief, or something?
Good evening. In March of 2021, the board passed a body worn camera policy for the police department. We did so somewhat prematurely, but we did so knowingly in order to advance a grant from the Department of Justice. We did receive that grant, $17,000 to help buy the cameras. However, since we got the equipment in, got trained on it, and have instituted them and see what the equipment's capabilities are, the policy doesn't quite jive in all areas. So we need to change a few minor procedural areas to the policy to best fit the equipment and procedures that we need to put in place. The policy was revised and drafted with key input from all stakeholders, patrol sergeants, union, and myself. I recommend you approve the amendments.
Thank you, Chief.
Approve.
Thanks, Mr. Burns. Second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter J, resolution authorizing the township application for funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to offset costs associated with phase 1 of the Community Park Master Plan.
So 'tis the season.
Yes.
So the township is routinely applied for the Community Conservation Partnerships Program grant, and that's through the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, we like to call the DCNR, for projects that are associated with community park and other municipal facilities. An effort to assist in the build out of our recently completed update to our Community Park Master Plan. The township will be seeking to apply for the Park Rehab and Development Grant this year. And this stream of funding is considered very competitive as usual and would require a 50-50 financial match. Board may recall that there is a dog park in the first phase of the updated plan to be constructed as part of phase 1. And it's specifically comprised of removal and site prep, dog park site improvements, dog park site improvements for another smaller park for smaller dogs, as well as plantings, landscaping, composting, toilet, other park amenities such as signs, benches, whatnot. The estimate of the probable cost for the entirety of phase 1 is $870,000. $43,000 was budgeted this year for public works to complete removals and site prep, so we can try to get a start on that, which would leave $827,000 for the total project. We would be requesting $413,606. The deadline for the grant is April 6th, and Jim's been hard at work on that already, and we'll be including Kevin shortly. And I know we'll be engaging our former consultant Heather in helping us with the park, as she invited us to do so. So what this is just a resolution that identifies for the state, he will be signing the necessary documents as we go through that process.
Most approved. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any further discussion?
When do you think that's going to be completed?
So they will award Probably, if it's this year, it's at the end of this year, so it's always on that December, January straddle.
They typically award in October is what they were saying for this year. Yeah, so we would know by October if we're gonna get a grant.
So we're not gonna, when would we start breaking ground for this phase? Next year?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that more in the budget as we move through for the 20.
Okay. Got the first and the second motion. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. K, resolution requesting a sewage facilities planning grant to update the township ACT 537, Act 537 sewage facilities plan. Mr. Stanek, a briefing, please.
Earlier this year, the board authorized the township engineer Gray to prepare a grant to assist in funding an update to the township's Act 537 sewage facilities plan. This plan was last updated by KLH in 1998. At that time, they were the township, or not the township, but the sanitary authority engineer. As such, presented for the board's consideration is a resolution authorizing a request for a sewage facilities program grant in the amount of $12,500 to be used to update the township's Act 537 plan. The township engineer has quoted us a price of $25,000 for the entire project, and this is a 50-50 match. This will be a DC. That's fine.
So moved.
Thanks, Mr. Burns. Second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter L, motion authorize a lien on the property located at 150 Sunset Boulevard for violation of section 302.4 of the International Property Maintenance Code as amended by section 172-3G of the Township Municipal Code. Mr. Stanek.
Scott's looking a little tired back there. So pursuant to our property maintenance code, as it was amended in 2019, grass, weeds, similar vegetation is not permitted to grow in excess of 8 inches. When properties fail to comply with those regulations, they receive written warning within 7 days. Code also allows the board of supervisors to require removal of any type of violation and then lien the property to recoup those costs incurred. We are talking about one particular property tonight, that's 150 Sunset Boulevard, that is a former Patrick School. I know we've been in contact closely with a lot of neighbors up there. It's needs some TLC, so it's right now up for sheriff's sale. So we hope we can look to take care of using a contractor of sorts. You know, there are tree branches limb throughout the property. There are weeds growing, grass up under the confinement fence that they have posted. So it just needs some upkeep and being responsive to those in the neighborhood. So
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Need a second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion on the issue? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter M, motion approving a contract for property maintenance.
So, from time to time, each year the board has placed liens on property for not complying with the township's property maintenance code. What this does is it gives us a formal contract to enter into for the year with somebody that, and this one is with William Barr. And when we contact Mr. Barr, he will go ahead and do what we need to have done, either pick up rubbish or cut grass, things like that. So I would like to make this a sort of routine thing for reorganization meetings, that we would have a contract with property maintenance approved once a year by the board, and we can go ahead and get it done a little bit faster.
Move to approve.
Thanks, Mr. Burns. Need a second, please.
Second.
Mr. Grego, thank you. Any further discussion?
Is there any, is this bidded out? Is there like prices for what he's doing or anything?
It said he's gonna submit an estimate for each.
Yeah, it'll have to be an estimate on it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Call for question. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter N. Motion, I'm going to move a motion to appoint Joe Rush as a full-time public works employee for Strabane Township. Need a second, please. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any discussion? I would like to congratulate Joe. We'll stand up, Joe, so everybody knows who you are. We'll introduce you. I'd like to congratulate you and
Didn't hash it.
No pressure.
I got those two motions, buddy. I got those two motions. I just want to, I don't want to know who you are. So you're going to be in our day. Welcome to Strabane Township Public Works Division. And it's good to have you. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to vote on you and you can find out what's going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have a first, we have a second motion. Please, all those in favor of the motion to hire Joe Russ as a full-time public works employee, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Congratulations once again.
Thank you all.
You're welcome to the township.
That was close there.
Okay, letter O, motion to appoint a new member to the planning commission to a term ending December 31st, 31st, 2026. Okay, excuse me. And we'll just give,
Can I give a little bit of background on the term first?
yes.
In consultation with one of our solicitors, over the years, our planning commission members have, the terms have got a little cattywampus. And typically their terms are 4 years. This is 2026, making this about a 4.5-year term, but it's to fix an issue out of alignment with the terms. So we're not appointing 4 commissioners, we're 5 planning commissioners all in the same year. They're supposed to be staggered. So what this does is it extends it to 2026 to allow that cycle to start to get back into cycle.
Yeah.
And so, right, and before the board is an appointment for Dan Reeds.
Yeah, let's name them first.
Yeah, Dan Reeds. Dan comes from a lot of experience past in the township, sanitary authority, as well as on our comprehensive planning commission that we had in 2017. Dan is also a great economic development mind and a great program administrator on a county and public sector level. I know Dan has had a big role to play at Starpoint in developing that area in Harvardstown. So Dan will be a great, welcome to have Dan back.
Thanks, Mr. Byrne. Need a second, please. Thank you, Mr. Lugatitz. And I would add to that, he worked on the comprehensive planning steering committee with us, and he's been an asset to the township into the planning commission. All those in favor of appointing Dan Reach to the planning commission, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. P, resolution adopting the Washington County 2022 Hazard Vulnerability Assessment and Mitigation Plan Update. Mr. Stanley.
He has
We had worked on the hazardous mitigation plan, Mr. Stanek and myself, and had to bring up everything to update it, make sure that it's in place with the county. They had also did a third-party assistance company to put all municipalities together. And this is kind of making sure that our I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. The updates have been done. It has been turned in. My part was as far as emergency management coordinator, township manager, and then this last part, which is what's up on the table today, is to make sure that the resolution plan was approved.
In the standoff that, so what the county did is they used municipalities to identify specific locations within the county and what all natural hazards and vulnerabilities that we face from time to time, whether flooding, brush fires, earthquakes, tornadoes, anything that you could imagine. And I know we've made the
road slips.
Yeah, road slips. I know we made the executive summary several times. So the other key point is that FEMA this is required for federal funding should a disaster happen. So now that the town, or the county went out and got a consultant, counseled with all the communities inside of the county, this is the end result, and they're asking the communities to adopt.
Move to approve.
Second, please.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, motion to reschedule next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors meeting from April 26, 2022 to April 19, 2022. You want to give an explanation why, Mr. Stanek?
We will be at the PSET conference in Hershey
That's
on April.
That's the entire board. You'll be attending and the township manager. Okay, could, need to move a motion there, please.
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Mr. Lucas. Just need a second.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Grego. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 10, adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Second. Okay, Mr. Lucas. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjournment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mike,
The meeting is adjourned.
that's.